Hello book friends, I'm Allie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the books that I finished in my reading vlog last week. Those are The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson and The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. This will be the second time that I've done a review video, so I'm just going to talk about some stuff that I thought that the books did well. If there's anything that you particularly have in mind for reviews that you like to see, just let me know, and next time I'll try to include some different information. I'm always trying to grow and evolve here, and I'm looking forward to starting to do reviews, but I kind of have to get a feel for how I want to do them and what I'm going to talk about. So let's talk about the books that I read in my vlog. The first book that I read and finished was The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. Now, this book was incredible. I absolutely loved it. I had intended to actually read it rather slowly, but after I got into it and started reading it, I could not put it down. Brandon Sanderson, one of the things that he does so well is world building. He builds these incredible worlds in such a short amount of time whenever you really think about it. And you just get so invested in his worlds because he gives you like little details, and it's slow world building. So in the first book, you get a lot of world building because he's setting up, for what you're going to be encountering throughout the series. But then whenever you come into the second book, you start getting even more world building because you're starting to piece together what is making everything tick, and you're getting that in slow little bits. The way that Brandon Sanderson does his world building is so slow and intentional that you get little bits at a time, and you want more. So you just devour the story because it's like you need to understand, you want to understand. So you just keep taking in the story, trying to get more and more of how this world works and what's piecing it together and why things are the way that they are, especially how things have crashed down in the first book and are having to be rebuilt in this book. Another thing that he does excellently in this book is character building. You see characters that you had in the first story that you may have had like some brief exposure to really getting built up in this book, and you're getting that very intentional character building where you're seeing them just really grow and change and adapt to their circumstances, and whether it's for the good or for the bad, you see people reacting honestly to what they're going through. And I really appreciate that whenever I'm reading a story, because I like characters that seem real and who have character traits that are more than just surface level, and Brandon Sanderson is so good at doing that. And then you have the plot of this story, which in all fairness is slower than the first book. The first book is very fast-paced. This book is more slow because you have a lot of political building in the city, and you have people that are basically trying to wage war on one another, so you have a lot of the politics of this city. So you end up having more scenes that feel a little bit slower, but Brandon Sanderson does them in a way that he weaves in action to it. So for me, it didn't feel all that slow. It felt like you needed that information in order to progress the characters in their growth, and you needed that to progress how Luthadel is growing and changing. And all of it is just very intentional, and he doesn't put details into the story that are just superfluous. So you're getting details that are important, especially for later. And from what I've been told of the third book especially, you're getting details that you don't even realize that you need for later. So everything builds together and pieces together to make this bigger picture, and you also have all of the little intricacies that are the foreshadowing for what's to come. And I've heard that whenever you get through the whole entire series, you look back and you realize how much you actually missed of those little hints all throughout the writing, because Brandon Sanderson is so intentional with his writing that you just get all of this information, and he doesn't put information in for nothing. It does have really great action scenes also, because you have Vin, who is just really learning her elementic powers and going out and just honing her skills and learning more about the Mistborn in general. So you have a lot of that going on in this book. And then also you have some, I don't want to give any spoiler details, but you have some other characters that have come in and they're trying to figure out more about the past and why the present is where it's at in a bigger, larger scale than just politics, like the whole world kind of scale. And so you have all of these plot lines that like weave together to create this whole that is just a fascinating read. And once you get into it, you'll end up speeding through it and devouring it because it is just such a fantastic book. The next book that I finished was The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. And this book follows characters from the Duchess deal. The Duchess deal is technically the first in the series, but I think that it doesn't really matter what order that you read them in. I would recommend reading them in order just so you get those characters and then you get introduced to these characters in that book and then you get to continue on with their story. And I really like that. I like when books do that because in this book, you do get to encounter some of the people from the first book also. And so you get to see kind of where their lives are after everything that happened with that story. And I enjoy that you get all of that stuff kind of weaved together. Tessa Dare is really good at building relationships and having that fun, snarky commentary back and forth, or the witty banter that you get between people. And especially in this one, Alexandra is a very interesting character. She is an astronomer. She really loves the night sky. She is nerdy. She enjoys to read and she enjoys to have intellectual conversations and she enjoys to be separate from society. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about this book was that the main female character didn't like the way that society places their gender norms on females. And so she went against it and she said, like, I'm not going to conform to what you want from society, and I'm not going to be a governess who teaches little girls to be like that either. And so she was letting these little girls just shine for who they were, and I think that that's so important. And I loved her interactions with the girls, and I loved seeing how she reacted in order to help the little girls grow and come out of their shells because they were very emotionally broken, and how her character ended up really learning the male protagonist, Chase. He's not a duke, but he's an heir to a duke. She doesn't necessarily trust him at first, but then they really start to grow together. And one of the things that Tessa Dare is really good at doing is showing that slow, steady growth between people. And I think, for me, that's really important because I don't like whenever people are just like suddenly head over heels for one another with no explanation, and it doesn't like piece together and it doesn't make any sense. These two people had their own issues and they came together and they started learning one another, and I think that that is really cool. I like seeing that in a story, especially a romance story. I really enjoyed the character growth and the changes that they had throughout the story that seemed steady and gradual, but also very realistic. I appreciated that. I enjoyed the relationship building, not only between the main male and female protagonists, but also from the children, and the children to the adults, and the way that everyone bonded together. I thought that was really well done. And then you have the progression of the plot for Alexandra herself. I think that just everything all together just made this a really fun read. And if you're looking for like romance, if you're wanting to get into romance, I would suggest reading Tessa Dare, especially if you're very hesitant about it, because I know for me, going into romance, I was hesitant about it because I felt like I wasn't going to find the type of writing that I like personally, and so I had always kind of written it off. But I'm really glad that I picked up Tessa Dare because she is very good at writing characters, and she's very good at situational awareness of like the way that people actually interact. It seems very real, like it's something that could happen in real life. And so that's something that I really appreciate about her writing. So if you want to see me talk more about these books, be sure to go check out my vlog from last week. And if you have any questions about them, drop me a comment down below. I'd be happy to talk to you about any questions that you might have. And I am definitely going to be figuring out how to structure these reviews a little bit better. I want them to be non-spoiler, but I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys enough information. So if you have any suggestions for things that you might like to hear me talk about, please leave me some constructive criticism. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later.